Hey, this is Guillotine Hughes. This is Guillotine Productions podcast. I've got Taylor Ellwood, great author I ran into. I ran into his books. He does a lot more stuff though. So I'll let him introduce himself and the other things he does besides write great books on magic that I've read.
Hey, I'm Taylor Ellwood with magicalexperiments.com, which is where I have those great books if you want to check them out and write about magic. I also write fiction at imagineyourreality.com, and this year I'm starting up my coaching practice, Inner Alchemy Coaching. So that's going to be, I'll be announcing that in the next few days, but I'll just go ahead and announce it on here. So that's also going to be something I'm doing. And, beyond that, I'm just kind of just doing my own thing, living life, experimenting with magic, enjoying being single.
yeah. I mean, I'm really single too. So I got the feeling like that. Yeah, for sure. The structure in this year we were talking about, before when we were talking before is 2023 for me personally. It means a lot because I'm a chaos magician, and 23 is the chaos number and all that kind of stuff. So I'm really looking forward to really break through and do some like really big huge projects, personal projects, and building a network of people, of podcasters and things like that. So do you have any projects in mind yet that you're formulating? I mean, you mentioned you do all that stuff, but is there anything like new for 2023, or are you just pretty much going to be going on building on the things you're already doing?
Well, I mean, the Inner Alchemy Coaching, of course, is going to be new for 2023. Beyond that, I mean, I'm continuing a year or this class where you're working with the demon a week that Stephanie Connolly's been doing through her Patreon. So I've been partaking in that class, and we've gotten through 52 of them. So they were, there's like another half year's worth. So I want to do that because, I think it's been kind of interesting to learn more about the different goetic demons. I haven't worked with all of them. I've learned some weeks have just been kind of like this last month, I haven't really done much work with them because I've just been kind of I need to take a break. And really December for me was all about taking a break. Last night for New Year's Eve, I finished up creating a magical cash book, which I'm going to start experimenting and working with. And then I I created a collage for 2023 because for me, the theme of 2023 is going to be all about saying yes to myself and no to everyone else, and really choosing myself, because I've come to I've been doing a lot of work already around this, where I've kind of recognized my codependent behaviors and people pleasing, and I'm like, I want to change this so that I'm not putting myself into situations where I'm letting people walk all over me, and where I'm sabotaging the relationships I'm in because of, I'm saying yes to something I really don't want to do. And, then I'm finding a way to undercut that relationship. I'm doing a lot of work around sacred masculinity this coming year. I've recently joined a couple men's groups through the Mankind Project. And I've been finding that really helpful to explore my relationship with what masculinity means to me. And just finding it really refreshing to be able to get together with a group of men and talk about things that I think normally don't get talked about. So that's been fun and interesting, and I'm going to be continuing that work. And I joined a martial arts studio in December, so I'm going to be continuing that work for the coming year. So I'm going to be getting more involved with that as time goes on. Beyond that, I want to get back to work on my nonfiction. I spent a lot of this last year writing fiction. I'm almost wrapped up with my current fiction project, and so I want to write a book on working with nature spirits and kind of share the work I've been doing with that. I am definitely going to be writing a book about my experiences with saying yes and like what that's teaching me, and also the sacred masculinity work. So I got a few projects along those lines. What about you? What are your projects for the coming year?
Yeah, well, so I mean, I completely can relate to the codependency. You know, because I went through drug counseling school, I had to take a a whole course. I think two courses actually on it, and find out what where people think it comes from and everything. And usually it comes from breaking boundaries, the parents breaking boundaries with the children, not necessarily like the horrible like sexual abuse way, but just like telling like telling a child, like, your father's a deadbeat, or your father just slept with this woman, or something, and like to a 7-year old, that's just breaks the boundaries and makes people want to like change things, and they go on, and it's a cycle. So yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that with the codependency. I also, though, it's very hard to break that particular addiction for me, and I think for a lot of people, because it's kind of like the addiction to food, or something like that, because it's not something you can just abstain from. Because at least, well, at least I don't think it's healthy to abstain totally from caring. Like, so if you just don't care at all about anybody, you know, that's not a good strategy. But so you got to care just enough, kind of. And there are some people that deserve to be cared. So there's some people that are using and just users and stuff like that. So yeah, I could totally relate to that. For my projects, and hopefully, I got a few like notes. I'm still a work in progress, but uh, I don't know if I mentioned to you this before, and I'm just coming out talking about it, more to get it out. Is I have a brother in Visalia that's just got a life sentence,
Mm.
and so I'm not, I don't feel sorry for him. I'm not really going to try to help him at all. I'll interview him, I'm sure, for that. But he's got 7 children that obviously he can't take care of, and the reason he's in the prison is because he killed the mother for the children. So horrible, horrible thing all the way around. Uh, I'm trying to come up. I want to, I need to educate myself in the latest techniques of trying to, find some way to make. I don't know if we could bring understanding or healing, or help them grieve. I don't know, but I'm gonna I'm gonna show up. I mean, I'm planning on getting in an RV, and going all over the country. And I've got relatives in other places too. I got a brother in Georgia. He's doing great. And I want to see his kids. And then in addition to that, we're building, myself and Alfredo and Layla. We're building like kind of like a superpower team to do content. So that's going to be taking up a lot of time too. I don't know how long this RV, I mean, that's probably going to be not till the middle of the year, but who knows when that goes on. But this doing the podcast really helps me. Like, it helps me just like therapeutically, So and I know we touched on that yesterday. That's why I asked you to be honest, because I know you do some kind of like therapeutic type of things, and you're saying to pull back, and I have to pull back too, because you got to consider the audience and all the stuff, oversharing and stuff like that. It's in line with that. But have you ever? Yeah, I know you're kind of a wanderer, right? You haven't really been in one place. I mean, recently you've been in a certain place, but didn't you kind of like were kind of a little bit of a nomad at one point?
Well, I mean, I lived on the East Coast, and then I ended up moving out to the West Coast. I've kind of been fairly settled. I don't know that I've wandered that much. I mean, I do like to go on trips when I can. I recently moved to Eugene last year, well, a year and a half ago now, almost. And that's kind of been its own adventure, some ups and some downs, which happens. I mean, I'm still very much getting used to this area. I don't know a lot of people, so it's kind of an interesting challenge in and of itself. How do you start your life over when you're in your mid 40s, and it's interesting because you also end up seeing up close, when you're in your mid 40s, I think, you go through your midlife crisis. That's kind of, what I've definitely been going through.
Yeah.
The astrological components of it and stuff. I was reading a really good book called A Lantern in the Dark by Danielle Blackwood, which actually walks people through, like your Saturn opposition, your Uranus opposition, your Pluto and Neptune squared, and how these show up. And I'm like reading it and I'm like, yep. All these things happened. Yep. All this stuff came
Yeah.
through.
It's amazing sometimes to see how it clicks together like that. And for me, because I'm 53 now, so I've kind of passed on a little bit past that. In my 50s, I had uh, uh, my astrologer called it a Chiron return, like a wounded healer kind of thing, and that's like kind of an ordeal where more of the midlife crisis, more of the existential crisis sometimes might come in, and thinking that there's overwhelming or something like that. But I got through it. I'm sure you'll get through it fine. It's just, yeah, these are challenging years.
Well, I think it calls for clarity, and I mean that's really where I'm at right now, where I'm like, well, what do I want to do with the rest of my life? Not that even what I figure out now will automatically translate over to the rest of my life. I mean, living life, things change, but I think, it's called on me to become more conscious and aware of things. And that's where I've been kind of, recognizing some of the patterns in my life that I want to change, and doing this deep internal work to bring some of those changes about. Because I think that, like, the most effective magic is not just the magic that you do to get results to occur in the world around you, although that's always nice but it's the work that you do internally so that you can align yourself with the best possible life that you can live. And of course, that's not always an easy process. I mean, it requires some real willingness to go in and do the work. But I think a lot of times when we don't do that work, or even when we do the work, but there's some things that we're not paying attention to, it can come back and bite us in the butt. And that's kind of been my experience. When I look over the last few years in particular, I really see where certain choices that I made really kind of came back to haunt me in some ways. And I've kind of had to come to grips with the full consequences of that. And it's not going to stop me living my life and moving forward with my life, but it's really kind of helped me to recognize, like, what do I want to change now so that I can move forward with more conscious awareness. And that's a big part of what 2023 is really going to be for me. That's kind of why I go with that, say yes to myself, because I've spent so much of my life saying yes to other people in some ways that I haven't really learned how to say yes to myself. It goes back to that poor boundary awareness that, when you're a kid, if you do have parents that do that, and a lot of times parents do, you don't learn how to firm up to create a strong core. And that's really where I'm at now, where I'm like, I need to build my core up. I need to strengthen who I am internally, so that I can go out there into the world and have that strength, with whatever else occurs. Because I mean, people, I think sometimes they go for the whole notion of, when, can I get to the point where my life is just smooth sailing and there's no problems? And the truth of the matter is that's just simply not going to happen. Inevitably, there will be problems. There will be moments in your life where you encounter struggles and challenges and things like that, and you have to rise to the occasion. And that's just part of life, but doing it more consciously and with more awareness can make a huge difference.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, what you're saying, it harkens back to the story of Gautama, Gautama Siddhartha, the prince they hid everything from him, like all the sick people, he never saw a dead body, never saw any negativity, and then when he finally saw it, he became he started the path to become the Buddha, to be the awakened one, because he felt that was the only way to get past this stuff, because everybody dies, everybody gets sick. It doesn't matter if you're like your morality, if you're the moralist person ever, if you're the healthiest person ever, if you do the best deeds, that's just when you get a body, you get a death. And I mean, like, not right away, we get all of us hopefully get at least 70 or 80 years, but It does go to that. I had a question to go back to a little bit. I'm curious about, if you're okay, answers. What style of martial arts did you sign up for, or in the dojo?
So I started going to a kung fu studio here in Eugene. I'm just right now just doing the qigong portion of it. I'm not really doing the kung fu yet. I've got some other obligations I need to clear out, you know, that I'm kind of working through. I kind of got a commitment I made for the first quarter of the year. That would interfere with the classes, but I still think it's good for me. You know, I'm meeting people that way. I'm connecting, and I'm doing something that I've wanted to do, and you know, that I had always kind of like rationalized not doing before. You know, I always had some reason not to do it, and I was kind of like, you know what? No, this is something you've always wanted to do, so just do it. And you know, I think that that's kind of really the key thing. Like, if you look at your life, like, how many things are you putting off? You know, because you're busy saying yes to someone else, or and no to yourself, or even if you're not saying yes to someone else, you're just telling yourself that you can't do it or whatever. I mean, it's so easy to live a life constrained by fear. You know, the fears that come up. It's interesting right now. I have something I am working on that's new for me. I don't have a lot of experience with it, and I'm not going to really talk about it too much on here. But I will say the thing that's been really interesting about it is the fear that's come up as I've been starting to learn about it. Like, what if I invested my money in the wrong way? You know, in this thing. What if I wasted over $1,000 on this training? What if? And like every time those fears come up, I'm kind of like, well, you know, you definitely will have wasted it if you let your fear get the better of you. So you just have to move forward. Like, you made your decision, you did what you chose to do. Now you've got to make the most of it. And I think a lot of times when we let our fears get the better of us, it stops us from really committing to what we could discover about ourselves. Even if something doesn't work out, it's going to teach us something.
Yeah, for sure. And what that reminds me of also is, you know, I'm putting together like my own like magical system kind of thing that really goes by the four powers of the Sphinx. You know, to know, to dare, to be silent, to will, and all that. And I mean, your book on the process of magic is kind of what I'm basing it on. I'm just kind of just moving the things around because, you know, it kind of is a chaosy. It has like eight principles. I'm not going to use the same ones or anything. And then, you know, when I get the drafts, I don't know. Hopefully, maybe you can take a look at them or something. But the main thing is, like, what I say is, you know, if you have your thoughts right, which is way harder than people think, right? If you can meditate and you can only think of what you really want, you know, your results, your intentions, all that stuff, and keep that like super clear, and then your incantations right. As far as just speaking in, because most of the things we do, we speak, we order things, we do this even mundanely, right? But I feel that when someone speaks, then, you know, that things, it makes it in, you know, it makes things, it creates things. We've kind of like went away from that because writing and reading is so common. But back in the Middle Ages, I'm sure, you know, they thought it was whatever you wrote down. I know, like the Norse and Egyptians, whatever you wrote down, they were spells and they were doing things and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm getting into that. But the part that I was thinking of about yours is, so obviously there's the to know, to get your education, your everything you should know and everything you should think about, right? To speak is silence, and to dare I would put together, and then the will part is your results, and you just got to manage those results. You know, I mean, if you get results you don't want, then you can go back to the drawing board, or if you get results that are kind of okay, you'll be like, well, I can adapt to that. You know, I mean, maybe I got a job at a place that I wanted a better job, but I got an okay job or whatever for right now. So that's how I'm looking at this whole system I'm putting together. And I mentioned it to you because, you know, yeah, your book on the process of magic, it really kind of inspired me with that. I know you don't really go into the powers of the Sphinx. It's a different concept. It came to me in a different way. So that's like one of my, you know, probably my favorite book by yours is the process of magic.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, I think it's great like that. And another thing that me and Alfredo in Dark Sorcery are working on is we're working on trying to like kind of do an occult reading or Bible study, right? Because so many people in the occult have been forced to read the Bible, and be told what the Bible means, what these verses mean, and as an occult perspective, a lot of people don't think of it. So the video I did last night, I talked about the first chapter of Genesis where God said, "Let there be light," and then there was also the before that there was all darkness and the waters and the firmament. That was like the thoughts, and then there's like the thought and then the seeing. And I'm not, there's a lot of horrible things in the Bible. A lot of people have done a lot of bad things behind it, and like I said, a lot of our people will get hit with that. I don't know if it'll be successful, but I want to like try to say that the book itself is, it's transliterated. They've got all kinds of different things they've changed in it. But if you look at it in a certain way, it's showing you how to be a magician, and that's and people forget the key message too of Christianity that a lot of people just forget is that basically it's saying, the Yeshua or Jesus character was a God who became a man. So it's saying where humans can become gods. It's kind of like if you reverse that. So I'm trying to reclaim the Bible because me and Alfredo both come from a Pentecostal background. So the speaking in tongues and the going crazy and all that stuff. So I know you had some experience with that. I think I read in one of your books with
yeah, I'm familiar with Glossalia. I actually was before I got into magic part of a fundamentalist Christian sect. I forget what it's called at this point, but they, I had the experience of speaking in tongues, and I still have that experience now occasionally, and it's I think that it's not I don't think it's limited to Christianity, so no reason not to explore it.
I think for sure. I agree with you. I mean, like me and Alfredo, we never lost our ability to speak in tongues, and also, to a certain degree, I think it's just spirit languages. I've tried to, I think that calling spirits angels and demons is kind of like spiritual racism in a way, because like I think they're just spirits. Sometimes they can be good, sometimes they can be bad, and sometimes there's like a one that does a certain law enforcement or something, and they could be a jerk about it, or they could be a savior, and then a demon could come and help you, or he could like mess you up. So like I think we're dealing with spirits which are a lot like humans, and just like humans, I mean, people could look at me and say, hey, that's a great guy. I like his show. He's a good looking guy. He has a lot of good things about him or whatever. Or they can say, I hate that old guy. He should just give it up. So I mean, it's just people do put labels, put a little bit of hating on people, and I think they do that to spirits too. And that's another revolution that I hope to reach in this Bible study group. To try to tease that out within it in an occult way.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I think I'll be curious to hear how that works out for you.
Yeah, and I hope it clears some trauma, or at least people will like not, because I've seen people when I show them the Bible, they freak out. They literally like get PTSD triggered from it because a lot of them were hit by it and slammed by it and said you have to believe this and this and that, and then punished in all these ways by it. So I think there is good parts, and there's parts that mean things that people don't understand. So that's going to be a big project of mine in the future. But yeah, so I'll definitely put your links. Probably, unless you have anything else to add, I like I said, for myself, I'm on and hopefully you could go on a dark sorcery too. I don't know. I don't know if I've been introduced you to Alfredo yet, but I'm sure he'd love to have you. That's more of an occult podcast. I try to make mine more just about art and industry and stuff because I see, I see a possible like another satanic panic thing that would maybe mess with a strictly occult thing. So I do all. I used to do my occult with Alfredo, and he's been doing it for like 3 years, and then do my shows because I'm in LA. Mostly about music and stuff like that. In your case, but in your case, of course, uh, with a writer or anybody who wants to be on that I know well or like, I'll have on still. But I'm trying to get into more of a, like the goth scene, how it started and how I got into it, the punk scene and all the crazy stories, living up in
Yeah,
LA.
that's cool.
So, so that's where I'm going. So you have anything else?
No, I mean, other than to wish you and everyone else watching this a happy new year. I mean, and just remember that, I mean, I don't know, each day is a new day. So like a new year is really just another sequence of days, but like, let's just
Yeah.
make the most of it. Learn what you can from 2022 and move forward, and just recognize at the same time that just because it's a quote unquote new year doesn't magically wash everything away. You just do the best you can.
Yeah, yeah. I can't imagine it to be worse than the last 3 years. Like 2020, 2021, and 2022 were really horrible years for me.
I hope it gets better, because honestly, I could use a change in pace.
Yeah, yeah,
But some of that really does. I mean, at least in my case, some of that really is reflective of the things that like I'm doing the work so that it can be better, regardless of what's going on externally.
yeah.
Doing the work in here. That's in here. That's what matters. You gotta take care of yourself first and foremost, and then that's when you can show up for other people.
These challenges and ordeals make us stronger, and maybe that's part of the reason we chose to incarnate into these bodies to learn about limitations and to have to deal with disease and stress and family problems and all this stuff. Uh, these challenges, they could be, the meaning of life. I mean, not the whole meaning of life, but part of the meaning of life. But that's just a thought. But thanks so much for being on. I hope we can do more of these. Anytime, just let me know when you have time, and I'll be putting this up. Just send me whatever links. I think I got some of your links, but just to make sure, we'll just email the links. I'll put them on my YouTube there, and on my Facebook and wherever I post these videos. So thanks a lot, Taylor. Have a
All
great
right.
day.
You too. Take care. Happy New
Here.
Year.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye.